Good day to everyone. This day we'll be talking on spreadsheet software application using Excel. To start with, it has defined different learning objectives that each of you must be able to attain by the end of this lesson. You should be able to identify the advantages of using a spreadsheet application software. You should be able to enumerate and describe the parts of the Office 365 Excel application, and you should be able to identify some features and some built-in functions in using the Excel applications. Make sure that you have with you these materials and equipment as we go along. Now, what spreadsheet software are you familiar with? Can you name some of them? In what instance where spreadsheet software application is useful? What are some features of this spreadsheet software that you have tried using? Okay. So when we say spreadsheet software, it is a accounting software used particularly to perform mathematical operations for a given data set. Okay. At the same time, a spreadsheet software also allows us to create a visual representation for our data set using graphs and charts. And then with the use of Excel application, it makes computing a lot more easier as we can modify the formula from any time we want. One good thing about these precious software are now becoming is that they are now becoming more portable as this software can be installed right into your smartphones. And Microsoft Excel application is actually one of the spreadsheet applications available in the market. And this is owned and distributed by Microsoft Corporation for both Windows OS and Mac operating system. And it features calculation, graphing tools, pivot tables, and many more. And when we say a spreadsheet application, it is primarily used to work with numbers and text to perform mathematical computations in a given spreadsheet. And when you say a spreadsheet, it is a table of values where the data are arranged by rows and columns. Now let's get a look on the Excel window that we have. So more or less, we have the same parts of the Excel window compared to the Word application. We still have the same title bar, ribbons, tabs, scroll bars, except for some items which are unique to Excel application. So let's get to know these unique parts of Excel window. First is that we have your name box. The name box allows us to see the address of the current cell selected. And the cell address for every cell consists of a column letter and a row number. For example, if we have here the cell address of D11, it means to say that we are at column D and row number 11. And that is what we can see from our name box, the cell address of the current cell selected. And beside your name box is our formula bar. Now there are actually two types of cell address. We have the so-called relative cell address, and we also have your absolute cell address. So it is called a relative address. It is because the cell address is relative to its current position. So it doesn't have a fixed address except that its cell address changes or adapts to its current cell position. And this is usually used in formula where its cell address must change as the formula is being applied to other cells. For example, we have here cell address D1 and E1, and we use the cell address in the formula equals D1 plus E1 in this cell address. Now, as we apply the formula to other cells using the fill formula method, when we drag this part going down, this cell address are changed. From D1 to E1 at F1 cell address, it is now changed to equals D4 plus E4 on cell address F4. So meaning to say, its cell address changes the moment we apply the formula to other cells to perform the computation. So this is what we meant by a relative cell address. So its address is relative to its current position, and it changes from the moment we apply the formula to other cells. Okay? That is how a relative cell address looks like. It consists of a column name plus a row number. Then we also have your absolute cell address. So in contrary to a relative cell address, an absolute cell address has a fixed and constant cell address throughout the formula. Meaning to say that this type of cell address will not change when you apply the formula to other cells. So it still refers to the same cell address from the beginning up to the end of the formula. Again, it is fixed and constant cell address. Your absolute cell address still contains your column letter and a row number, except that we are going to append a dollar sign before the column letter or before the row number where we want it to be fixed. For example, we have here your relative cell address, D3, and then we also have your absolute cell address here, $E, $1. So what does it mean? If you have here $E, mean to say this is constant column letter. So our column here will not change as we append the formula to other cells. And then take note also that we also append $1 to our row number. Mean to say it will always refer to row number 1 of our data located at column E. So this is a constant column and a constant row location. So this is the data which is being referred to. So take note that if we will examine the formula in this cell, it is equal to D3 times $E, $1. So it points to the 10% watt. And then as we apply the formula to other cells, if we examine the formula, the cell address, which is our relative cell address, changes. From D3, it becomes D6. But our E1 here, the column E and row number 1, is still the same because we are using absolute cell address. Take note that you can also make an absolute column only or absolute row number only. So if you want to have a fixed cell address, then you could make your column and row constant by adding $sign before the column letter and row number. So this is how we use your absolute cell address. So we use this absolute cell address to refer to a specific cell address which doesn't change as we apply the formula. If you want your cell address to change the moment you apply the formula to other cells, make use of your relative cell address. Whereas if you want your cell address to refer to the same location, no matter how will you apply the formula, then use your absolute cell address. Okay, another part of our Excel window is what we call your formula bar, which is located beside your name box. Again, our name box, it allows us to see the cell address of the current cell selected. Now, our formula bar, this is where we can see the data as it is being entered into the current or active cell. At the same time, From our formula bar, we can also see here the formula used to perform the computation, because what we can see in the cell is the data after the formula has been performed. But then if you want to edit the formula, you can edit the formula using the formula bar. Okay, so again, it is located beside your name box, and it displays the formula used to perform the computation in a given cell. But then if the cell doesn't contain any formula, it just displays the data contained in the cell selected. Then we also have your column headings, which gives identity to every column in our worksheet, which are again identified by alphabetic characters. Okay, this is our column headings. It gives identity to every column and are referenced by letters. And then we also have our row headings, which again gives identity to every row in our worksheet, and are referenced by numbers which run up and down of your Excel screen. Okay, this is your row heading. They are referenced with numbers. Then we also have here the cells. Okay, the cells here in Excel refers to the little boxes that we can see in our worksheet. At the same time, the cells are actually formed by intersection of rows and column. And when we say active cell, this is a cell which is currently selected, and it contains a dark border around this cell. For example, if we select this cell here, the intersection of column B, row number 2, this cell now contains a dark border. So this is now our cell pointer. And then this cell which contains a dark border is what we refer to as active cell. Okay, or the cell which is currently being selected. And take note that from our name box, it displays here the cell address of B2. Mean to say, look, we are at column B, row number 2. Then we also have your navigation buttons. So if we now have a large number of worksheets, then it will be a lot easier for us to navigate from one worksheet to another by using these navigation buttons. And beside your navigation buttons is we have also your sheet tabs. These are the tabs for every worksheet that we have created. And to rename a worksheet, you will just have to double click the sheet tab where you want to edit, and then after double clicking that tab or the worksheet where you want to edit its name, you can directly type the new label for that worksheet you are working. So say for example, if you want to edit the grades worksheet, then double click on this worksheet and then start typing now your new label for this worksheet. Then we also have here a page view for Excel, which allows you to select options on how to display the worksheets, which includes normal, page layout, and page break. Okay, so this is your page view, and then you also have here your zoom bar. Okay, your zoom bar is used to magnify your document, and then this is your zoom percentage. Okay, if you want your document to appear magnified, then you can zoom in your document. Now we have here some features of Excel application which makes it more enticing to use. Okay, or more interesting to use. We have here autocomplete feature. So when you say autocomplete, uh, it, it is just when the moment you start typing the text in a given cell, some text suggestions will appear, and it is based on the entry, or it is based on the previous entries which you have made in your document. So every time you enter a text in your Excel document, Excel actually keeps track of them, so that the second time you enter the same entry, it will provide a suggestion for you to select. So without typing the entire text. That's what we call the autocomplete feature of Excel. Then another feature of Excel is that it allows you to do autofilter. So when you say filtering of your data, it allows us to hide data temporarily in a spreadsheet. Say for example, you only want to display a record for a specific student, then you can do auto filtering for that. Okay, you only have to select the data for a specific student without allowing the other data to be shown. And then to apply auto filter, you are going to select a column where you want to do auto filter. Say for example, in your names column, you want to filter your data using their names or family name, then select on that column, then go to the data tab and then click filter button. And then after clicking your filter button, you can now start unchecking those data which you want to hide. Then one good feature of Excel is that it allows us for sorting. So sorting only means to say that we are going to arrange our data in some values. Like we want to arrange our data in ascending or descending order. So that is what we call sorting. So to sort your data, select the cells containing your data, and then from the data tab, click on the sort button. Okay, you can explore which columns you're going to sort, the values to be sorted on, and the ordering of the data. Excel also allows us to have text control, okay, wherein it allows us to change the way in which information is to be presented into the cell, where the text control includes the values like wrap text, shrink to fit, and merge cells. Okay, so this is how the wrap text, shrink to fit, and merge cells appear. So when we say wrap text, mean to say it allows a cell to increase its height of the cell to accommodate its content. So it will expand to accommodate all the contents in a given cell. That's what we call wrap text. Okay, this is your wrap text. And then if we have here shrink to fit, mean to say the font size of the text will decrease so that it will fit in the given cell. So it is the text which will adjust so that it will fit in a given cell. That's what we call shrink to fit. And then we also have your merge cells, mean to say you are going to combine two or more cells so that the data or the text will fit into that merged cells. Then we can also change the text orientation for our text entries in Excel. Okay, it can be oriented from 0 to 90 degrees, either up or down. So to change the text orientation for our text, go to the Home tab and then open up your Home dialog box launcher for the Alignment tab. And then under your dialog box for alignment, you can see the text alignment command that allows you to alter its orientation. Okay, so these are some of the different text orientations that you can do. Text oriented at 0 degrees. You can also change the degree to which your text is to be oriented, like 45 degrees, 90 degrees, negative 45 degrees. You also have negative 90 degrees. So depending on you can set the degrees in which your text should be oriented. Okay, these are the options for your uh, text orientation. You can also select the cell where you want to change the text orientation and then right click that cell and then choose format cells. From your format cells, go to the alignment tab and then from here, you can see the different options to change your text orientation. Okay, you can customize the degrees here. You can also have the text control, wrap text, send to fit, merge cells, and other similar options that you can use to change the text orientation of your text. Excel also allows you to do conditional formatting. Okay, so mean to say it allows you to apply a defined format to cells, rows, or columns which meets the criteria specified. So mean to say you have your specific criteria to apply a specific formatting. Say for example, you want to have a red font color for all those grades below 75. So we can apply conditional formatting for that. Okay, so that these entries will stand out from the rest. And that's the purpose of your conditional formatting, to make your cells stand out so that you can easily find this data. To apply conditional formatting, these are the steps. Firstly, you have to select a cell or cells where you want to apply conditional formatting. Say for example, you have a column of your final grade, and then you want to apply conditional formatting for that. So you have to select this entire column where we want to apply our conditional formatting, and then go to the Home tab, select conditional formatting under the styles group, and then select highlight cell rules. You may select any option as presented depending on your preference. Then enter the value you wanted to apply, conditional formatting, and select the formatting you wanted to apply. And then click OK after finalizing your conditional formatting. Okay, so for example, this one, we have here the column of total, and we are going to apply conditional formatting for that. So in this case, those cells which are greater than 29 will have this formatting, like light red filled with dark red text. So this is how we do conditional formatting. Select the column first, and then go to the Home tab, and then select Styles Group, and then choose conditional formatting. Then you can explore the different options for you to use on your conditional formatting. Then to enter data in Excel, you are going to select first a cell where you want to enter your data or information. And then as you start encoding, the insertion point will appear. And then the data is then entered both in active cell and in the formula bar. So the moment you start typing, it will appear also in your formula bar aside from the active cell where the data is entered. Then to edit data in the cell, there are two methods. We have your direct cell editing, where you directly edit the data right from the cell containing the data. Or you can do formula bar editing, like selecting the cell containing the data and then editing its content right from your formula bar. And it is also applicable, especially for formulas. Then to insert rows and columns in your Excel, you are going to select first where the new column or new row is to be inserted. Okay, take note that the new row or column is inserted right before the selected row or column. So it is inserted before. And then right click on the selected row or column and then choose insert row or column. And then again note that the new row or column is inserted above the cell you selected initially. Or if you insert a new column, it is inserted before the column that is selected previously. And then by default, Excel's columns are 8.43 characters wide, and it can be expanded to 240 characters wide. And then to adjust the column width, so just place your cursor to the right side of the gray column header. Then from there, you can click and drag the mouse as its mouse pointer has been changed to adjustment tool. So just position your cursor in between the two columns where you want to adjust its column width. For example here, and then once you place your cursor here, it will now be changed to adjustment tool. So you can click and drag to change the column width of the selected cell, of the selected column. And then you may also adjust the column width of a cell by right-clicking the cell's column header. You want to adjust its width, and then after right-clicking, select column width and enter the desired column width for the entire column, and then press enter when done. Okay, that's it. You can right-click on the column header and then choose row height. Okay. Then how do we create a formula in Excel? To create a formula, we'll start with an equal sign to tell Excel that we are going to create a formula in the document. And then after entering your equal sign, you can now start typing the number you want to perform the operation or the mathematical operation, or you may also use the cell address. Well, it is a good practice that we should use the cell address when we create our formula, so that this data, or so that when we modify the data in the cell, the value will automatically change. So for example, this one, we are going to create a formula to compute for the price of a given product. To compute for the price, we need to multiply its quantity with its corresponding unit price. Say for example, a quantity of 3 and a unit price of 12. So to create a formula, again, we have to type an equal sign and then refer this cell address. This is located at column A, row number 2. That's why we have here A2. And then asterisk to perform multiplication, minus sign or dash sign for subtraction, plus sign for addition, and then slash sign for division, times B2. So B2 here reflects our unit price. Column B, row number 2. So when we press enter, it will evaluate this expression. So when we modify any data from our quantity or unit price, the price here will be automatically updated. That's one benefit when we use cell address to perform computation and in creating our formula. Now sometimes we could create a complex formula where it includes parentheses and a series of operations. Now Excel evaluates this expression by following the PEMDAS rule. PEMDAS rule is evaluated as parentheses, exponents, multiplication or division, whichever comes first, and then followed by addition and subtraction, whichever comes first. So for example, we have here this complex formula. We have here division, subtraction, parentheses, multiplication, and subtraction. So what is evaluated first is your data or expression from your parentheses. That is 8 minus 5, that is equal to 3. So 3 is our answer here after evaluating the expression found in our parentheses. And then from here, it will then follow the MDAS rule, multiplication or division, whichever comes first. So in this case, division comes first, therefore, we have to divide first the value here, 120 divided by 3. Okay, this is evaluated first because division comes first, which will give us 40. Okay, and then from here, 40 times 4 minus 2. So evaluated here, multiplication has higher precedence as compared to subtraction. Therefore, multiplication should be done first. That is 40 times 4, we get here 160. And then followed by subtraction. So the final answer here is 158. So that is how we evaluate complex formula when using Excel. It follows the PEMDAS rule. Then how do we apply the formula to other cells? So again, there are two methods to apply the formula to other cells. We have here the fill formula, which allows us to copy our formula and then apply the formula to other cells by using the fill handle. So we'll make use of the fill handle to apply the formula to other cells. So this is our fill handle. It is located at the lower right portion of your active cell. So when you position your cursor in this part, it will change to crosshair. So mean to say you can now click and drag the formula to apply it to other cells. Okay, you can click and drag, and then the formula will automatically be applied to other cells. That's your fill formula method. Then the second method we have is the copy and paste method, where you can select the cell containing the formula and paste it to other cells on which the formula is to be applied. So select this cell and then Control C, and then highlight this cell and then press Control V, and then the formula is applied to every cells being selected. So that's your copy and paste method. Now Excel contains some built-in functions which are shorthand way to write our formula. So it allows us to create shorter formula as compared when we are not going to use functions. And it is used to perform our calculation a lot more easier. And here's the general format to use a function in Excel. Again, since this is a formula, it will always start with an equal sign, and then followed by your function name, and then followed by your range of cells. That is, if your range of cells are consecutive, then you can make use of colon. But then if your cell is not consecutive, then you have to specify every cell where you want to apply the formula. For example, you have your equals max A1 to A20. So this is our function, max function, and then A1 to A20 here, this is our range of cells. So starting from A1 down to A20, you are going to find the maximum value. That's the work of your max function. But then, if your data is not consecutive, so you need to specify every set address where the max function is to be applied, like A1, A3, A5, and A10. So whatever cells you specify here will only be the cells included to evaluate the formula. So unlike here that this one is applicable when we are using consecutive cell address. Again, we use colon if we have consecutive cell address, and then use comma to specify the cell address where the formula is to be applied. Okay, here are some of the built-in functions in Excel. You have your sum function, which is basically used to get a sum for a given range of cells. For example, you have here equals sum B1 colon B30. Mean to say all the data from B1 to B30 will be added, and it will give us the sum of this data. Or if your data is not consecutive, then you can specify the cell address where you want to compute for its sum. Then we also have your average function, which is of course used to get the average for a given range of cells. If your data is consecutive, make use of colon like B1 to B30 with an average function. And then again, if they are not consecutive, you need to specify the address where the average function is to be applied. Then you also have your count function, where it is used to count numeric entries for a given range of cells. Take note that it only counts for numeric entries. So it will exclude any non-numeric entries in your column or date or cell address being specified. Again, if it is consecutive, make use of colon. If it is not consecutive, you need to specify every cell address where the count function is to be applied. You also have your max function, where it is used to get the largest number in a given range of cells. For example, max B1 colon B30, so it will retrieve the highest value among the values found in your B1 down to B30. And then again, if they are not consecutive, you need to specify every cell address where the max function is to be applied. Then if you have your max, you also have your min function, which will retrieve your lowest value in a given range of cells. So to use min function, type your equal sign and then min function and then your range of cells. Say for example from B1 to B30. But then again, if they are not consecutive, you need to specify every cell address where the min function is to be applied. Then we also have your if function, where this if function checks whether a condition is met and then returns a condition if the condition returns a value if the condition is true and another value if the condition is false. So meant to say there is an expression that we are going to evaluate whether the expression is true or it is false. If the condition is true, then a value will be returned and another value will be shown if the condition is false. So here's the format to use the if function. Okay, we have your equals if, then the condition. In your condition argument, you need to make use of your logical operators like greater than, or comparison operators like greater than or equal to, or lesser than or equal to or not equal to. Then value if true, what will you display if the value is true? And then value if false, mean to say what will you display if the value is false. For example, we have where equals if A7 is greater than or equal to 75. So in this case, it will retrieve the value found at cell address A7, and it will check if the value is greater than or equal to 75. So if the value is greater than or equal to 75, it will display the word passed. And then on the other hand, if the value found at A7 is lesser than 75, then it will display the word failed. So that is how your if function works. You need to pass your condition, and to create your condition, make use of your comparison operators as what I have mentioned earlier. So this is your value if true, and then the value if false. So there are only two possible values that you can pass in an if function, and only one of them is being returned as you evaluate the expression. Then we also have your count if. Count if function, it counts the number of cells which satisfies a given condition. So unlike with our count function earlier that it will only count the numeric entries, our count if function, we are going to specify the condition on which data is to be included in our counting. Like for example, we only want to count the number of students with a remark of passed. So we can make use of count if. Or the other way around, we only want to count the number of students with the remarks of failed. So we can make use of our count if function for that, because we don't want to count all the data, but we only want to count those students with a remark of passed or a remark of failed. For example, this is the format of using count if function. You need to type an equal sign to tell again Excel that you are going to use, or you are going to create a formula. And then type in there your function name, which is our count if. Your range of cells, you need to specify the consecutive range of cells where count if is to be evaluated or is to be applied, and your condition. For example, okay, equals count if A1 to A7. So it will look for the value of passed from the cell address A1 to A7. So whenever it will encounter the word pass, then it will be counted. So it will increment by 1 every time it encounters the word pass. So take note that the capitalization of the condition as specified here matters. So if you have it written in capital letters, then you have to pass the argument in all capital letters. If you have it in lowercase, then pass a lowercase argument, because otherwise the data will not be counted. So that's the use of your count if. So we specify which data is to be included in our counting. So not all the data will be counted, only those data which satisfies our criteria or condition. Then you also have your round function, which is used to round off a number to a specified number of digits. So you're going to specify in how many decimal places are you going to round off your answer or your data. Say for example, you are going to round off your data found at A7 to 2 decimal places. So we pass here the argument of 2. So you need to specify the address where the round function is to be applied, and then specify also the number of decimals where the data is to be rounded off. In this case, we rounded off our data up to 2 decimal places. Then we also have our VLOOKUP function, where it searches for a value in the leftmost column of the table, and then returns a value in the same row from the column specified in the table. So this is the format of your VLOOKUP. So unlike with your if function where there are only two values, your VLOOKUP function can take multiple values, like different value for different data. So it is not limited up to two possible output, but you can have a lot of value to return when a condition matches in your formula. So this is the format of using the VLOOKUP function, and this is an example. So in this case, the lookup value is the actual cell address where you want to locate its value in your table array. So this is your table array. Okay. Transmute means to say this is your worksheet name. Then $A1, the $A1, then $B1. This is our B101. This is now our uh, table array. This table contains the actual value and its corresponding value. And then return number column 2. So there are two columns in here. This is your column 1 and this is your column 2. So we pass here the value of 2, mean to say we want to display whatever is data found on column 2 which matches this value. Okay? Say for example, our actual value here is 85. Then the transmitted value of 85 is 90. So what will display in our uh, cell is 90. Okay? Say for example, this is 85, its equivalent value is 90. So when you press enter, it will display the value of 90 instead of 85. So uh, we change the value. So that's the work of your VLOOKUP function. So more than two options are used in your VLOOKUP function as compared to your if function, which can only take two possible outcomes. Okay, aside from functions, Excel also allows us to create charts, which are visual representation of our data. So Excel has a powerful tool to create charts, and they are fully customizable with the different charts that we want to create. So to create a chart, you need to highlight your data source from which the chart is to be constructed, and then go to the Insert tab, and then select the appropriate chart for the data under your charts group. So as easy as that. So highlight your data, and then go to Insert, and then select Chart, and then choose the chart where you want to use for your data visualization. Examples of these charts are, we have your area chart, column chart, bar chart, line chart, and you also have your pie chart. So line chart, they are usually used to present a trend or pattern. So when you want to look for trends or pattern, make use of a line chart for a given set of data. If you want to present the contribution of each part to the whole, make use of a pie chart. If you want to present the frequency for each category, you can use a column chart, which can either be vertical or horizontal graph, or vertical or horizontal bar chart. So it depends on your preference. So these are the three most common charts: pie, line, and bar charts. So you can also use. There are still a lot more of charts which you can explore when you use Excel to suit the need for presenting your data visually to your audience. You have any questions so far or clarifications? Okay, so thank you and have a good day.